Good morning, afternoon or evening, wherever you are. I'm Paul Clark and welcome to my studio. Now, what have I got for you lovely lot today? Well, we're just back from a week's teaching holiday on the beautiful island of Ibiza. Thanks Max for the t-shirt, where we were part of the Costa Festival, which was just a fantastic experience. So we're going to have a go at painting this lovely little seascape taken from our time on the island. So just before we start, I've got a very short video, about 2 minutes long, of our time on the island. So buckle up your seatbelts because...
Whoa! We're going to Ibiza. Whoa! Back to the island.
Oh yes, we were delighted to be part of the Costa Festival held at the Seaview Country Club, San Antonio Bay, all arranged by those lovely people at Harmony Voyages. Now, Ibiza has the reputation of being a bit of a party island, but it really is a beautiful place. I mean, look at the colour of that sea, and I haven't adjusted the colours at all. That's as it is. You can see I'm going to have to get my cerulean blue out. And so many wonderful things to paint. Hang on. Stand still a second. Damn. So many possibilities with amazing light, contrast and textures. So, we had an amazing day out painting plein air, and this little beach was directly in front of the hotel. Now Anne said, make sure you tell them my painting is at the ugly stage. Nonsense, it's looking great. Margot sketching in the sunshine. So we had step-by-step lessons in the classroom, as well as relaxed sessions on the terrace. And as far as the entertainment goes, there was definitely something for everyone. A holiday to remember. Okay, so for today's materials, my paper is some Arche Rough. It's 100% cotton, £140, and on a block, so it won't need stretching, but any decent watercolour paper will do. My colours today, now there are lots, so I'll list them below as I use them. 4 brushes from my range, 3/4 inch flat, number 12 and number 6 round, and of course my trusty number 3 rigger. Okay, so here's the reference photo, and to be honest, I nearly fell into the sea climbing down to the rocks to take this one. So, quick pencil sketch, no drawing template today, it's nice and simple. Off we go, wetting the sky area using my flat brush with clean water and letting it soak into the paper. So I'm after a nice and bright Mediterranean blue, so I'm using a 50-50 mix of cerulean and cobalt blue. So I'm lifting out with the tissue the area where the trees are going to go, and then also using the tissue to lift out some nice fluffy clouds. And the harder you press, the more white your clouds will be. Now for the sea, and I'm re-wetting again with clean water and then dropping in the same sky colour. Here, straight into the wet, I'm putting in a mix of cadmium orange and yellow ochre. And then dropping in a little touch of the phthalo green to give that lovely turquoise feel to the sea. Okay, so now for a slightly warmer blue, and I'm using some cobalt blue here, just with a slightly thicker consistency. Here I'm just lifting out a few highlights with a damp brush. Next, I'm using my normal green mix of cadmium yellow and cobalt blue for these distant trees, letting the yellowy greens and the bluey greens mix directly on the paper. Next, the dry brush technique, keeping the brush flat to the paper, using the texture, creating this lovely natural effect. Next for the sand here, and I'm just simply using some yellow ochre, nice watery mix, and then dropping in wet a little touch of burnt sienna to create a little bit of contrast on the edge. Next, for this tree, which is slightly in the foreground, I'm using a much yellowy green, which will help to give a little bit of contrast with that dark tree on the right. Now, some of you may have noticed I've still got my orange security wristband on from the festival. How lazy am I? Next, I'm going to paint the rocks, and I'm painting these with lots of warm, earthy tones, letting them mix and blend directly on the paper. And I'll list all the colours below. And you can see from the reference photo that the values are much darker along the bottom edge where the rocks meet the water. Okay, so while this is still wet, I'm using one of my favourite techniques. It's the plastic credit card technique for painting rocks. So push down and scrape along, you get some wonderful, wonderful rock shapes. And by putting more and less pressure on your card, you can vary the texture that you get. Then, while this is still damp, I'm coming in with my number 6 brush and some Payne's Grey just to accentuate some of these dark shadows. Okay, so using the same colour on these tree trunks, nice and simple, using my number 6 brush, as few strokes as possible. And just putting a few details on this, I think it was a restaurant actually, but it was closed on the day we were there. And there was a little tree here just in front of the restaurant. A little shadow on this wall here with some Payne's grey, and then just dropping in the bottom edge a little bit of burnt umber. Now, these 2 rocks in the foreground, I'm painting them one at a time and using exactly the same colours and technique as I did in the rocks behind. And I want to bring these 2 rocks a little bit more forward, so I'm just going to add in a little bit of splattering to add some more texture. And just dab out with the tissue if they're a little bit too dark. And just let it dry before starting on the next rock. So now we need to let this totally dry. So it's a perfect time for a short break. And how about a glass of Ibiza Summer Pale Ale? It's brewed on the island, you know. So as everything is totally dry, I'm coming back in with a very watery wash of burnt sienna just to give these rocks a little bit of warmth. Now for this overhanging branch. Now this is very important because this is the tree that's going to give us that nice dark reflection in the water. Lots of short, quick dabby strokes and picking up a bit of dry brush from the texture of the paper. And I'm using my number 6 brush for this. Next for the sea, and I'm using a very watery phthalo green. You could also use Viridian. Using quick horizontal strokes and you'll pick up some of the texture of the paper to give that lovely ripply effect. Now for that tree reflection in the water. Now I'm back with my number 12 brush and I'm using quite a thick consistency of the phthalo green mixed with Payne's grey, keeping the brush strokes moving nice and quickly and fluid, trying to create that lovely effect of the ripples. And I'm adding some more Payne's grey into the mix to darken some of the areas. Now back to my number 6 for a few little final details. Okay, now I'm switching to a nice watery cobalt blue for these ripples out in the sea, and this section is filmed in real time. Shall we have a few sound effects while we're painting this? Just building up the layers here with a slightly darker value. Here a little yellow ochre in the water to reflect the beach. And of course we need to add a few people. Nice and simple and not overworked. Okay, so now I'm going into mixed media mode and I'm going to be using various different coloured pastel pencils to add in these final details. And because they're very opaque, they work very well on top of watercolour. Back with my number 6 brush for a few final little details. And what I love about pastel pencils is you can blend and smudge them into your paper. There we go, all done in just about 3 hours. Well, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did, and you'll give it a go. And if you're interested in any of our retreats, holidays or workshops, please have a look at the link below. We've got lots of exciting things coming up in the following year. So please don't forget to like, subscribe if you haven't already, it is free. Leave a comment. Sorry I haven't been able to reply to most of your comments recently. It's been just very hectic. So I'll see you all in 2 weeks' time. There won't be a video next week because we're off on a teaching retreat at the Powder Mills Hotel. But have a great couple of weeks, everyone, and I look forward to seeing you all then. Cheers for now.